Hashtag no music, no intro. Saints Block Party podcast. We are back. If you are watching or listening to this, you are either a Patreon or a YouTube member. We appreciate you. We love you. This is one of our next Prospect of the Week episodes. We have not done one since 2 weeks ago because we were at the Senior Bowl. This is our next one in the series, so we are previewing star Michigan prospect corner Will Johnson. So got a lot to talk about regarding this player. I'm still trying to, I guess, kind of get my Saints mojo back. I still don't have it back all the way.
Ooh, struggling, man. I ain't want to talk about these niggas at all, bro.
Still,
If you don't know, go back and listen to our last episode about the Saints Catholic Church scandal. That took a lot out of me right there.
yeah.
I'm shaking back though. I'm shake back.
Trying. Super Bowl's tomorrow. I expect, and this is not any inside information, this is just a guess, I expect an announcement to be made like either after the Super Bowl Sunday night or Monday in terms of it potentially being official with Kellen Moore being named the next head coach of the Saints. And then obviously we'll do a podcast, to talk about that. But it's still a struggle, to try to kind of shake back and get into football mode, and all that. But it's, the onus, we talked about it when we were talking with Ramon, like the onus is on us to not lose sight and focus of the story. And
Right.
If you haven't been paying attention to it, like the it is come and gone, which I
Gone. Man. It's gone, bro. NOLA.com, you gotta type it in and search for it, trying to find us.
So
it's crazy.
I'm trying not to let that die. I want to give a big shout out, and I don't know what's going to come of it, but one of our biggest supporters who we were trying to get on the podcast, and we'll talk about Will Johnson, and whatever, I don't really care. Like, it's our podcast, we can do whatever fuck we wanted to. Catherine Fisher, who is a director who lives out here, who spent a lot of time in New Orleans, when me and Jay were in New Orleans for the Taylor Swift concert. She still has a condo there. She let us stay in her condo, so we didn't have to pay $1,000 a night for lodging the 2 nights that we were there. She listened to our episode and was just very moved. And so what she's done, kind of in her career is, really reached out to get people together and talk about issues like this in like panels. And so, depending on what happens in terms of if I'm able to go cover the combine for the podcast, she was like, I think this is a perfect opportunity for the conversation to really like continue and like to convene like a panel of like NFL, like former NFL players and like people of like to like talk about this on a bigger scale. And so she's actually we're gonna get together and see if we can actually like have a bigger conversation about this on a I know.
I love it.
On a bigger scale. But anyway, so I really don't, and I really don't want this conversation to kind of just, stop where it is, where we had it with Ramon, and it's just like, all right, back to Saints football. Like that's not where I wanted to end. So anyway, let's talk about Will Johnson.
Back to Saints football, baby.
I guess, bro. I just please, I'm gonna talk to our audience. Like, please, like, bear with me, because I know my typical like mojo and gusto, like it's not there. Like, and it's just I'll make a wrestling reference, and if you don't watch wrestling, then this is a very like outdated wrestling reference, but like I feel like Shawn Michaels, where he in like the 90s when he lost his smile, like he's a very famous wrestler where he just was like done. Like, and I'm not done. Like I just feel like my Saints smile has been lost for a bit, and so it's hard to go back to just
Alvin Kamara that season when after Mike
bro.
left. Everybody like, what's wrong with Kamara, man? He ain't the same. Pretty much it. Just a lot worse.
Yeah. But Will Johnson, it's interesting that we're talking about him. He won the poll. Interesting, we're talking about him on the Prospect of the Week series because if you were to back and rewind this prior to this football, prior to the college football season starting, um, there was no way in any possibility that the thought of Will Johnson potentially being there, in like the late bottom of, top 10 in the draft was a possibility. He was getting mocked top three, you know, two, three, four in terms of where he was going to go in the draft. Um, and I think there's a realistic possibility that he may be there at 9. And if you even go and look at Daniel Jeremiah's Move the Sticks first mock draft he put out, he has Will Johnson falling to, I think it was the Falcons picking 15, wherever the Falcons are picking. I think they're
He's the second corner in that draft. The second corner, third after Travis Hunter. Yeah,
yeah.
the third corner taken in that draft,
So
which is interesting to me. Interesting that Daniel Jeremiah did that because his first mocks are very league influenced. Like he talks
hmm
to everybody.
hmm
So that was just like, oh, that's interesting. Just interesting. Yeah.
so Will Johnson, he's 6. So again, combine has not happened yet. So these just going by school weight measurement, 6'2", very very tall, very big corner, physical corner, 6'2", 203 pounds. We'll see what the actual
Mm.
measurements are when the
Yeah.
combine happens at the end of 2 weeks. We should actually know hopefully by next week if I'll be able to go to the combine representing SBP. If I do go representing me and Ryan, it will only be for Tuesday and Wednesday of the end of the month to like try to get the coaching interviews. I'm not going to have enough work time, like vacation time or what have you, to be there to stay for the prospect interviews, but I definitely want to be there for the like head coaches interviews, so we'll see what happens with that. And he's a stellar cornerback prospect, but the big reason of why he potentially might be there for the Saints at 9 is he only played 6 games, and I'll put up his stat sheet in a little bit. He only played 6 games last season. He dealt with some nagging injuries. How some of those were probably some legit, and I think some of those was like Michigan was ass water last year. He won a national championship the year before, and he was like, coming back. Like, I gotta preserve my. I really feel like some of it was like he was preserving his body. Like,
Yeah. I
and
agree.
and it is what it is. But some of those are probably some nagging. And his arc as a prospect of how it might work out for the Saints, it's so funny because it's very similar to how if he ends up being drafted by the Saints, it's almost identical of how the Saints were able to draft Marshawn Lattimore. Like if
Right.
in terms of like the injury, the hamstrings,
Yeah, I'm sure
like
all that.
the whole thing. But in watching him as a prospect, because there's not a lot, because he only played 6 games in 2024 this college football season, but 2023 watching, if you want a better sense of him as a player, watching his tape from last year is probably more indicative as opposed to this season. But like, what's your impression of Will Johnson as a prospect?
Just kind of going through his history, it reminded me a little bit of Derek Stingley too, because remember Derek
Mm.
Stingley hit the
Mm-hmm.
scene his freshman year, just amazing. His second year was really good, and then it kind of last year he had injuries. People
Mm-hmm.
wonder like, where's his effort? Is he thinking about the league? Blah
Mm-hmm.
blah blah blah. And there's a lot of questions. He still got drafted with top 10
He
to the
drafted
Texans.
3. It was
Three.
3 overall.
Still, there was a lot of talk going into that draft. Like, oh, Derek Stingley gonna fall. Still with top 3 to the Texans. Amazing cornerback. Blah blah blah. Reminds me a lot of that, where he's just, he was so good early,
Mm-hmm.
and people just expected him to be good, good, good. This season got banged up. Michigan, Harbaugh left. Michigan kind of not what it was. Thinking about going to the draft. This season just wasn't as stellar. It wasn't a bad season, but he only played 6 games. He was injured, had a toe injury, shoulder injury. Oh, okay. I was looking up his injuries. I was like, man, what exactly injured? like you said, I'm not saying he was milking it, but he was probably like, man, look, I'm gonna get healthy. I'm trying to get fully healthy so I could, so I can go top five and change my freaking life. You know what I'm saying? There goes the stats. Those are PFF stats. Ignore that overall grade
Please do.
because I hate PFF grades. We know how it goes with PFF grades. It's just whatever. But I thought a lot of the, just some of the regular stats there are, interesting or whatever. But overall, man, I just thought he was like just kind of an easy corner to evaluate. Big, physical. You could quickly tell that he's super intelligent,
Woo.
great
Quickly, bruh.
instincts, just sees the field. He's constantly reading the quarterback, reading the body language of the wide receivers or the tight ends, the running backs. He's watching the plays. You could just tell, like, this dude is a student of the game. No effort worries or nothing like that. Like, he's playing 1,000 miles an hour at all times. You saw he played a lot of, I guess you could say cover four, a lot of cover three,
Yeah.
a lot of zone coverage, a lot of off coverage. Um, and he watched them routes develops, and when they hit that stem or whatever, his feet is in the ground and
Gone.
he gone.
Gone.
Or if they try to jerk him around and take it downfield, he quickly flips his hips and he's getting downfield with the wide receiver. So he was really good at using the sideline as his
Very
help.
good.
Yeah,
Very
that
good.
just stood it. Just so smart. Just every time you watch, you just like, man,
Smart
this
ass
is a
corner,
smart
bruh.
corner,
It
smart
is,
ass
bruh.
corner, and that's what you
Yes.
got to be in this league, man. You can't, you could be the greatest athlete in the world, but if you don't have the intelligence or the work ethic to constantly study these guys and understand route concepts and all that stuff, and be able to actually predict the routes guys are running depending on the down and distance, you're gonna struggle in this league. And he instantly looked like a guy who already has that covered as a college player.
Yeah. His route, his understanding of route concepts and route combinations when I watched him in a couple of games was very, very, very impressive. And because we as Saints fans have known this to plague Saints tons, he understands like how to successfully pass off routes. Like
Exactly.
he did it so well. I was like, oh, he's like passing this out like perfectly. It was like, oh shit, this is what this looks like.
This is what
Not to say that the Saints did like I'm not they had their seasons where
in the
they were
moments, yeah.
where they were stellar. But he's a
But to your
incredibly
point, but to your
go ahead.
point, like he recognized everything. Like, even the RPO game, the
Mm-hmm.
behind the line of scrimmage action that's going on. He watching all that, run fits on running backs and stuff like that. So like, he's just built for what we see in the NFL now, going against people like, Jalen Hurts or whoever, Lamar Jackson, all those guys. He's built for those type of offenses because he's seen all that.
He is. He is. He also you can kind of see like he doesn't quarterbacks were kind of hesitant to test him. You can kind of
Oh
tell by
yeah.
the passer rating. And when they did test him from time to time, like he was a ball hawk. I think he had what maybe I'm trying to think off the top of my head. I think he had like maybe 2, 3 pick sixes in college. One
Mm.
against USC, one against Fresno State, and I think I may be forgetting one. So he does have good ball instincts. Um, his and I feel like for a corner his size, he's 6'2". We'll see how what his actual size is at the combine. He has a lot more fluidity for a corner his size than I think like you would think a corner his size would have. Like he's very fluid for a
Yeah.
corner his size. Um, there are two games that stood out to me in terms of if you want to look at like some things that were concerning. So he had a game against Fresno State. He actually had a pick six to like end the game, but game against Fresno State. I think it was this past season. I don't know if he was hurt. I don't know what it was, but he was getting absolutely abused in this game against Fresno State. I don't know what was
Mm.
going on. He was getting annihilated, and it was like not pretty. Probably like the worst game I've ever seen him play in terms of all the games I went and watched. It was just an ugly game. But it's funny because like if like you just watch one clip from that game, one highlight. It was like a pick six in like the fourth quarter when the
Yeah.
game was like sealed. And it was like
Right.
an 80 yard pick six. But like just watching the game, like he was just getting like it was a bad game. That game, and then a very good game. If you want to just watch mano a mano, good on good, watching him against Marvin Harrison Jr. from
Yep.
last season.
I watched that. Yeah.
And it was, I think I would probably give the edge. And I was talking to Dante about this when our 2 hour drive to Mobile. It was like, I'll give the edge, slightly to Marvin Harrison Jr. I think
Yeah.
he ended up with like 5 catches, 70-ish yards or something
Yeah,
like
like
that.
83
75.
yards or something
It
like
was
that.
83,
Yeah.
yeah. Um, it was a good matchup. It was a good ass matchup, and it was just dog against dog.
Yep.
And that's the shit, and that's the type of shit that you want to see. But look, here's what I do know. I know that Will Johnson is one of the players that the Saints kind of, I won't say covet, but like he's one of the players that's in their cloud. Like if he's
Yeah.
there, and so like every time I see people are doing like these mocks and they have Will Johnson going past 9. If Will Johnson's there at 9, he's a Saint. Like they are running to the podium and turning that card in. What are you shaking your head for?
I'm just saying, like, he's Jeff Ireland, cornerback,
Bruh,
through and through. Like,
through and through, bruh.
he's gonna meet all the metrics.
All through,
He's
through and through.
he's gonna meet the tape. He's gonna meet everything. Like all of
the
this.
the the big thing about him, and this is what I've been told. Here's the key for him. The key for, especially because of his size, is because there is a chance that he might, if he tests well, like if he goes into combine and he tests well, he might kind of restore his draft stock where
Yeah.
he might go top 5, he might go top 7.
Like Stingley.
And that's funny because the player I told Dante that he reminds me of do I have it? Do I have it up? And maybe it's a size thing. Let's see if I can share it. Let's see. He reminds me of him.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
6'3". This is about the combine. 6'3", 190. Now this is what he did at the combine that really kind of solidified him going 4th overall to the Jets. He ran a 4.41 at 6'3". At 6'3", bro. But one thing, in terms of like, I watched a bit of Sauce as a prospect, not a whole bunch because there was no way. Whatever, the Saints were not even in his realm of him to be drafted,
right.
so I didn't spend a lot of time on him. But one thing I will say in terms of like comparison wise, I think that I feel like Will Johnson does a better job of. I think he does a better. This sounds bad, but I think he's a more cerebral corner than Sauce. And I think at times he does a better job of not utilizing his hands that gets him in trouble. Because that's even when I remember watching Sauce as a rookie when people were fawning over him. And I watched a lot of Sauce on Red Zone as a rookie. When he would make plays, I would just be like, this is absolutely pass interference. Like he is like mugging this receiver down the field. And as a rookie, like none of those calls were ever called for DPI. Don't know why. Yeah. They didn't get called. This year, they got called all the time. Yeah. And I feel like Will Johnson does a better job. And sometimes he still gets in trouble. Sometimes he still gets handsy. But if you are a Jim Harbaugh taught player, you are a physical corner and you use your hands, because that's what, even if you just watch the corners from the Chargers this season, who were not Michigan players, that's just how they're taught to play with Jim Harbaugh and Jesse Minter. Physical. Use your hands. But then you gotta get your hands off. That's just how they're taught to play. But I feel like just aesthetically, but the key for Will Johnson at the combine is gonna be this right here. That 40-yard dash, that 10-yard split. And that's all he did. Sauce didn't do vertical jump. He didn't do broad. He said, I did 4-4-1.
See ya.
Just like Mike Green at the Senior Bowl, bro. That one
clip. Good one. See y'all later. And it's one of the few times where a 40-yard dash will be very important, especially
Yes.
for Will Johnson, because I wouldn't say you question his speed because he looks fast on film, but he's not, he's a big corner, so he's not the twitchiest guy.
Yeah.
So you do question, like, is he like a long speed guy?
Right.
Can he hit 0 to 60 real quick? To me, I think he can, but you want to see that on paper. You want to see those times. Like if he comes out and runs like a say a 4.5 or a four, like a high four, like a 4.49 or something. I think it's not gonna kill him or nothing like that, but I think people will be like, okay, I know what he is. Like I know
Mm-hmm.
what type of corner he is. He's gonna be more of a zone corner. He's gonna be this, that, and the other. Because that's one question I did. I couldn't find enough snaps of him in press man to
Man.
man.
Mm-hmm.
It's me and you,
We run it.
3rd and 9, let's go. You know
Let's
what I'm
go.
saying? Like,
Go
yeah, let's
route.
go. I just couldn't find a lot of that. That's not saying he can't do it, but you just don't see a lot of that on his,
That's
on
so that's
YouTube
the
at least.
and that's what the private workouts are for, right? That's like
Exactly.
if you're the Saints, and that's something that you Saints whatever team, but we're a Saints podcast. We talk about if you're the Saints, I'm getting a private workout. I mean, Shaheed just started running like this weekend, but like
Mhm.
Chris Olave, I'm going, hoping Will Johnson doesn't tear anything, but I'm saying,
Yeah.
hey, Chris, run this down route against Will.
Boom.
I need
I
I
want to
need to
see
see
it.
it. I want to see
Oh,
it.
well, get the young, but get old Austin, Kevin Austin Jr., all of them.
Right? Just
Just,
go.
just go. I want to
And,
see you press
and
up
uh,
and go.
go. And see if he can stay up, right? And I've been told that it's the size in terms of how he tests, and to see if he's like bounced back from injury of how he
Oh
tests,
yeah, oh
because
yeah. His injury is that. Yeah.
because if he runs what you said of he like potentially being like more of like a zone, like he's gonna be there at 9.
Hmm.
And if he's there at 9, I I I would say, even if he's there, like if he's there compared, like if both him and I tweeted this and people were like throwing rocks at me because I said I think the Saints might end up where both him and Tat are there at 9. People were like, there's no way. I'm like, dude, are you just saying that because like the mocks are saying that they're not going to be there? Like, are you actually like,
Let them Mox go, man. Them Mox.
please, please let him go, let him go. Like, yeah, please, before you like go actually like watch these players and watch their tape, and I promise you, not all the time, but I like the tape will dictate a better evaluation of what like the mock drafts are saying. I guarantee you they will. Like, because every fucking mock draft is saying, not every, but a lot of mock drafts are saying like the Saints were going to draft a goddamn safety at 9.
Yeah. No.
Oh, okay, okay,
Wild card start. No.
okay. So it's gonna be fascinating. So then the question becomes, and then okay, so let's say they dropped him at 9, because people are just like kind of annoyed about this idea of like, oh, here we go, we drafted in a corner at 9 because we got to place Marshawn Lattimore, and I understand it. I get the
I get it.
frustration. I
I
get the
understand.
annoyance. The Marshawn thing is interesting because seeing seeing him, and maybe it's the hamstrings, and it's funny because some games for Commanders he looked like good. He looked like Marshawn, but he going against like AJ Brown,
Hmm.
that recovery speed that Marshawn used to have, he doesn't have it anymore. I guess
Yeah.
it's gone. And if he doesn't win off the line of scrimmage, he doesn't have, at least against receivers like AJ Brown. I'm not saying like against all receivers, but like he doesn't have that makeup speed to.
Yeah. And
So
that was his superpower,
it
his
was
makeup speed, because he was such a physical press man. A lot of times he would get beat off the line because he'd be beat. They'll get off from boom. But his recovery speed was so good. As soon as that
elite.
ball was in the air, shoot, he had like a third gear. It was amazing. So if he's losing that, it's kind of like, damn. That's your superpower,
Power.
bro.
So what we it was a good trade for the Saints. Now, because honestly, had they not had traded him, if they would have kept him the entire season, he was not going to be on the team for this upcoming season anyway.
Yeah.
It was the writing was on the wall. Now, looking back on it, they weren't going to do it because as always, they're in win now mode. But
Oh,
they probably should have traded for him before the season started last season because they could have
yeah.
gotten a second. I still don't know what team it was, but they could have gotten a second for him instead of the 3 and the 4 that they got him from the Commanders. So I guess all that to say, like, Marshawn was not going to be on the team for the 2025 season for the Saints regardless. So it was going to be a hole that needed to be fixed or plugged regardless, right? So whether it's Will Johnson or whoever, like there was someone was going to need to come fill the void left by Marshawn
Oh yeah.
Lattimore not being on the team. But if they were to take Will Johnson at 9, then you have, in theory, assuming Will Johnson is a good to decent corner, you have a little more hierarchy in terms of the cornerback room. Just kind of how I was kind of talking, we were talking about Tatarua McMillan late. He kind of, he kind of gives the receiver room kind of like that hierarchy in terms of everyone has
Yeah.
their role. Like Will Johnson kind of gives that cornerback room that kind of hierarchy, right? Like,
Yeah.
okay, in theory, Will Johnson, in theory, is like the one, right?
Yeah.
And then you have Kool-Aid, who had flashes as a rookie. He can kind of settle in as a 2. Then the interesting thing is, like, this would be Alante's 3rd season? 4th season.
Fourth.
That'd be
Fourth. Yeah.
4th.
That was a lottery draft. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so this would be his final year, bro. And it's just like, all right, I guess we'll try you out at slot again. Maybe put him at safe. I don't know, right?
It ain't outside corner.
No, that I know it wasn't. It's not gonna be. Um, Mark said if I could get Mbuka in day 2, Mbuka ain't gonna be there day 2, bro. I'm telling you that right now. The run he had in the college football playoffs, and he's probably gonna test well. Mbuka ain't gonna be there day 2. He going probably, I would guess, low low round 1.
Mm.
Um, that's just how Ohio State receivers do. It just gives this kind of hierarchy to the cornerback room
Mm-hmm.
again that definitely felt like it was missing when
Yeah.
Marshawn got traded.
And look, everybody complaining about old defense or slow defense is like you got to start getting younger there, man. Like, and look, I know we need a lot of help on the defensive line, but at that location at number 9, and Mason Graham is gone. Yeah, maybe you could look at some of the pass rushers, maybe Williams out of Georgia or Jalon or I don't know. I haven't been hearing our boy Scorton name much. Kind of, I don't know if he's fading away, but I just haven't been hearing it. So good. Um, but anyway, like if they decide you got to start add pieces of defense, I completely understand the another corner, like another DB. Like I pulled up the numbers. Like the Saints have drafted DBs more than any other position the past 10 years. Like they DB crazy, which is kind of understandable. But it's like yeah, another DB. So I get the frustration, but that's a good player, man. Like Will Johnson is a good player. Only other negative I'll say, especially this year, he did miss quite a bit of tackles. It wasn't like egregious like Alante Taylor, but he missed some tackles. Like I don't know, it wasn't like an effort thing or nothing like that. He just I don't know if he missed some tackles. So feel however you feel about that. It's kind of a pet peeve for me with cornerbacks, but it's
Mm-hmm.
not like a huge thing. And the fact is he had better tackling like before this season. So whether that's injury related or whatever. But yeah, it's good cornerback prospect, man. Just a good cornerback prospect.
Uh, okay, so the 3 questions I've been asking during the series. Um, Does Will Johnson, does he have juice?
Yes.
Okay. Do you have to squint when you
No.
watch Will Johnson? Okay, so he has
Not at
juice. You
all.
don't have to squint.
No
So
squinting.
no squint. So right now, so this is what our fourth prospect we've done, and so our order. So we've been in lockstep thus far. Our consensus of the players we've done the series on. We've done Mikael Williams. We've done Tetairoa McMillan. We've done Ashton Genty. Right now, the order in terms of if we were drafting, it would be Genty, um, McMillan, and McHale. Right, that was the order, I believe.
Mhm.
We okay. Now we're adding Will Johnson to the mix in terms of nine. Nine's on the board. Like if he's on the board, all four of those players are on the board at 9.
And
Which player are you turning in? Which name is on the draft card?
it's a tough one, man, but man, I still probably go Genty.
Interesting.
Just because I just can't shake this 2006 Reggie Bush feeling. Like the Saints are just in such a ah, just
Mm,
situation. Just a Genty type player, bro. Just will bring so much excitement.
it would.
I think grade wise, I would put them very close. Like just overall grade, they're both like unsquinty, don't need to squint, good players, should fit in regardless. And both of them meet needs. Like honestly, both of them meet
Yeah.
huge needs for the Saints. Like both of them got juice, both of them bring juice to the table. Saints need running back help. They need cornerback help. My personal preference, I would probably go Genty, but he's right there after Genty. You know what I'm saying? Like as far as like who I would take. So he's in
Right.
that pecking order. Genty, Williams, Tat, and then Williams.
Wait. You said Williams twice.
Oh no. Genty, Williams, like the cornerback, Tat,
Johnson.
and then Johnson, Tat, and then
Williams.
McKenna Williams. Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry.
Uh, so this would be like the first time that we disagree. Um, I would go Will Johnson. I feel like as a prospect, and maybe this is more kind of projecting how he played in 2023.
Mhm.
And I love Ashton Genty. I love him, but I feel like as a prospect, like as a, it's just like if he's who I think he is as a player, like there's not any other corner prospects that are close to him
Mhm.
corner wise in the draft. And as much as I love Genty, as deep as the running, like
Deep, deep, bro.
it's it's it's
That's the
it's
only thing.
it's deep, bro. Like
It's
I'm
like
not getting.
like if
I'm
you
not.
miss out if like you miss out on Genty, it's like, damn, I missed him. Ah well, day
Yeah,
two we got this guy, this guy, this guy, this guy.
that's
We can go ahead
that
and
that's
you missed out on Johnson. It's like, uh,
bro. That's
you know,
it's. So if it's me, I would go Johnson if he's there at 9. My pecking order would be Johnson, Genty, Tet, and then Mikael Williams. If I was making the pick at 9, but it's just gonna be fascinating, man, to just see how it
super.
how it plays out. I think I really have a feeling if it was just kind of based on what I've heard and just kind of getting the tea leaves, if it's left up to them, um, you know, if, I think two players that they really, really, really love in this draft is McMillan and Will Johnson, and I think left up to them, just and this is just going off of just history, I think the edge would be Will Johnson. I just really just think the
I'm
edge would be
surprised
Will
they like
Johnson.
McMillan so much.
That is so surprising to me, bruh. It's so surprising to me. Like it does.
Like in a top cloud, like you know what I'm saying? Like
Yes, that
really?
is super surprising. Like I don't know if it's just projection of like they've wanted a big bodied receiver for so long, and he just
They
just
have.
checks that box for them. It's very surprising to me. It is very surprising to me because I like him, but I just I'm like, oh, okay. Like I
Mm-hmm.
love was it? Ammermeyer, Ayo Meyer, Elick,
Oh yeah, yeah,
Stanford.
yeah, yeah. Hell yeah,
He, bro, he looks like a Stanford reincarnation of Mike Thomas when I watched him, bro. Like
yeah, man.
I just feel like you could go Will Johnson at 9 and maybe go him at 40 and get a running back in the third round and
Mm.
get you got 2 third round picks. Maybe you get a tight end, and get a right. This like, and here's the thing, I'm on kind of the logic of like if you go defense at 9, honestly, the rest of your picks, not like
Offense,
all, but the rest of the picks need to be offense, bro. Like,
offense, bro. Just give me juice, 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 juice.
oh boy. So Dante said, "What are y'all's legitimate thoughts on which prospects will be there at 9? All four, 3 of the 4. Oh, okay. So the 4 that was good. So like Mikhail, Tet, Will Johnson, and Genty. I would probably of all the I would probably say 3 of the 4. I would guess 3 of the 4. Like I think the Will Johnson, because of him being a corner, I think the testing is going to be huge for him. But I don't know, man. Like the Daniel Jeremiah thing, I thought he even before like DJ put his mock out, I really start thinking that he was going to slip and be there at 9. And then like maybe like a week and a half later, DJ put the mock out and he fell to like 15, and I'm like, okay, I'm not making this up in my head. Like
Mm-hmm.
there's legit reasons of why I felt that he could be there at 9, but all 4 might just be chilling, bro. All 4 of those.
Yeah,
Genty for sure is going to be there at 9. Mikael Williams might be there at 9, but also like it would be the most Pete Carroll thing ever for like him to draft Mikael or Jalen or
yeah,
whatever. So that wouldn't surprise me. But at least I would guess at least 3 or 4 of the players that we've done, and we didn't do this we didn't do this purposely because we feel this way. We just like we they're all been polls, right?
yeah.
Might be there at 4.
I really do.
And that would be good for the Saints. And I think probably at some point we will have to do a breakdown on Jackson Dart.
Oh yeah,
Um, but what makes it even more fascinating is, and we'll see, but if there's going to be such a thirst that he gets elevated and goes like top 7.
mm-hmm.
Because as crazy and as insane as it sounds, I still think there's a possibility that might happen. I really do.
Well, it's building, man. It is building. It was also going to be fascinating is, once the draft happens, this series, this Prospect of the Week series, we got just a snapshot in history of what we thought about the player just watching them. You know what I'm saying? Like just
Yeah.
watching them, not on the Saints yet. This is what we think. So we have one 30-minute plus minute episode for each prospect. 4 prospects so far that really going to be sitting there at 9 that might go to the Saints. You know what I'm saying?
hmm
So it's going to be interesting to go back to that, after the draft.
And then this is like the looming thing that we don't know is if Kellen Moore becomes head coach, which all signs are pointing the way that he is. And I put something in the Discord. Again, this is Patreon only, so like whatever. But it came from a ESPN plus article. I wanted to read it real quick. Do 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 do. The NFL world anticipates Eagles. So this is from Jeremy Fowler, ESPN Plus article. The NFL world anticipates Eagles offensive coordinator Kellen Moore landing the Saints job. Blah blah blah. 2 names I've heard as possibilities as the defensive coordinator are 49ers assistant coach Brandon Staley and Buccaneers outside linebackers coach George Edwards. And then it says worth noting that some of Moore's potential coaching targets, assuming he does get the New Orleans job, were hired by Dallas, Matt Eberflus, and then they mentioned Clayton Adams. And they
Mm.
also mentioned Doug Nessmeyer as the OC option as well. Again, the question I keep asking and just have in my head is what is the Kellen Moore impact going to be in the draft room?
Yep,
What is it
that's the
going to
X
be?
factor.
What's it going to be? Like, it's like maybe he comes in and looks at the Tetaroa tape and he's like, maybe he's not
Yeah,
enamored.
yeah. He was
Maybe
like, all right, then.
I know how the scouts in Jeff Ireland feels about Genty.
Right.
I know that they don't see him worth being like the ninth overall pick in the draft. But maybe Kellen Moore comes in, he says, "Did y'all not see what I did with Saquon?" Like, yeah, yes, we don't have yes, I understand that our team don't have the offensive line that the Eagles have, but maybe in free agency I can bring in, free agency. I just brought in a Mekhi Becton. I just brought in blah 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 blah, and I can build and make a scheme that like Ashton's and not is not going to run for 2,000 yards, but a combination of Genty and AK, I can formulate and accentuate their best assets, and that's going to be demoralizing to defenses. I need him, Genty, at 9 because that's going to be a key cog in my offense going forward. Like that's such a just a huge part that's missing of what his voice is going to be in that draft room that we have no clue. We
No
have
idea.
no clue. Or maybe he comes in, and I keep saying this of just like I'm saying in the Discord. Maybe he comes in, he wasn't there, but maybe he comes in, maybe he goes to the combine and he sees how one of these quarterbacks throws, and he goes to like the pro day to Jackson Dart. He brings Jackson Dart in to like this secret, an actual secret private
Yeah,
workout that no one knows about, Sean. And he goes and he's like, "This is my fucking dude. This is my
I
guy.
could cook. I could cook
I,
with
I
this.
could build a whole offense around him. He has mobility. He does everything I need him to do. Not at an elite level, but at a good enough level. This is my quarterback of the future. That's my guy. I want him at 9." We don't know. We literally don't know what, because no one knows what Kellen Moore wants, because no one, he's never been a head coach, right? That's the X factor. That's the wild card of all of this. We don't know. Don't know.
Can't wait to find out.
Super Bowl tomorrow. Who you got?
Betting against Mahomes, man. Ain't happening. Crazy.
Ain't no
Eagles
way.
are the better team. Eagles are the better team, but
It's not, and
no.
it's not even close, bro. It's not even close. They're the much
Yeah.
better team.
But no, I'm not. Nope, not doing it.
Seen this movie too many times.
Too many times, bro. Fuck that.
Um,
Repeat.
that'd be great, bro. It would be crazy if they three-peated.
Ah,
Three-peat
three
the
in a
back
row.
in today's NFL. Today,
Crazy.
anyway, we shall see. But appreciate y'all for listening to another Prospect of the Week episode. We trying to think. We'll put another poll out. See what next player we'll talk about. What else would I want to say? We'll do the whenever it's announced, we will do the Kellen Moore episode, kind of emergency podcast, whether that so if it gets announced Sunday night, Monday, whenever we'll do it. I'm just more fascinated to see what the coaching staff looks like and going from there. But still got a lot to talk about this offseason regarding the Saints, and they got a lot of things to figure out overall. But we got y'all covered. Still trying to bounce back from everything, but appreciate y'all support. Again, this is for y'all. We're doing this whole series for y'all, and we will be back this upcoming week with anticipated news of, even if it's not Kellen Moore, they're going to have a head coach at some point, right? Maybe.
Happening.
Appreciate y'all. We love y'all. Enjoy yourself. Have a good Super Bowl Sunday. Take care of yourself. Be safe. We'll be back this upcoming week. With that, we are out.
Peace.